everyone, my name is Patrick with Denali Racing and Performance. This video is going to be a brief overview of our internal feed solenoid for the Turbo 400. I'm going to kind of explain its uses, applications, and the OEM and aftermarket components you can utilize with this kit. Now this kit only does pertain to turbo cars, and there are certain criteria that come along with that. But to kind of give an example, if you've ever seen or been that person that you got your car and you're on the starting line on the trans brake and you're stabbing the gas, and the car is having a whole bunch of trouble getting up on target boost so you can launch the car. And there are other reasons for that, but if you come to the conclusion that your converter is too tight, then this is where our solenoid comes into play. All we're doing in the simplest terms is we're pausing converter feed. And we're basically tricking the converter to think that it's a looser converter, right? What that does is kind of quickly eliminates or reduces the load that the converter is putting on the engine, allowing your turbos to spool up a whole lot faster. Some of the criteria you may have, smaller cubic inches with a larger hot side turbo. So it's really trying to get the turbo to ignite and kick off and then get the target boost. There are other things out there that people may utilize, specifically an external dump. And kind of the two different reasons behind why I don't think that's that efficient. It can work in some applications, but it is the less expensive way out and easier for people to install. Again, in basic terms, all we're doing is taking this solenoid and we're pausing converter feed. We're only doing this on the starting line because it does take a little bit, not a whole lot, but it does take a little bit of time, and different transmissions and setups vary. But it does take time for that converter to start filling back up again, okay? So we definitely do not want to use this down track. This is only utilized on the starting line. So have you wired into your ECU when you let off on the trans brake, or when you see a certain target boost, then this can be disabled, then unpausing converter feed back to the converter. Typically on an OEM setup here, you're going to have on your stator side, you're going to have a port here that feeds converter fluid from the pump through the stator tube into the converter. You may know that in some cases where you have a trans brake where you're going to have to plug this or orifice it, make a hole, make it smaller, and put a set screw in there with a hole in it, okay? We're not utilizing that in this kit. That's actually done downstream here. How we're achieving this with a case. Now, this could work with an APO case or an aftermarket SFI case. There really isn't that much limitation to what's out there that will work with this kit. There is one example. If you go on our website at denaliracing.com, I have a whole bunch of literature on there that you could read through and kind of get up on your knowledge about what works and what doesn't and how this works a little bit more in depth. For installation video wise, I'm going to be coming out with a kind of a playlist where it's individual videos of individual steps of installing this kit. I do not want to make one long video because it kind of drones out. It's kind of annoying. And then with each video that I do, at each step of modifying the components on your transmission, there'll be some commentary, tips and tricks, kind of going to help you aid in installing this kit. And of course, email and phone calls if you have any serious questions or something you're unsure of. I understand being a DIY kit that it may deter people. I want to show you, I have plenty of experience here and people to help, and the kit is pretty self-explanatory. For example, we have our fixture plate here, which is utilized in every step of installing this kit. We also have our wear plate, which is utilized to overcome certain lack of, and the differences in OEM stator side too. So there are some limitations with the pumps, which I will get into. Not limitations, more steps. But to generally explain what this does is, instead of taking fluid directly from the pump and feeding it right to the stator tube here, we're diverting that fluid down to the valve body. And there are some limitations on valve bodies that you can run. Again, if you go on the website, you can see that. Just trying to get a basic explanation of what this does and how it works. We are drilling one hole, which is given to you where to drill it with this plate, okay? And this sits right inside of the transmission. It kind of mimics the pump and has all the bolt holes in it, okay? We're drilling a hole into this top cavity here, and we're taking fluid from the main line pressure here and dumping it over into this cavity. This solenoid controls that. This is a normally open solenoid, okay? So it's going to free flow all the time, filling your converter until you call this up to turn off and pause your converter feed. Okay, you are drilling holes into your valve body. Okay, so that's pretty simple, pretty cut and dry on the transmission side and the valve body side. When it comes to the pump, not much has to be done with these. However, if you go on the website, you'll see you will utilize, this comes in the kit. This is a high strength steel wear plate that's going to go on here. Okay, and it also is a reprogramming plate. It allows fluid to be diverted in a certain way on this side. When it comes to the pumps, a 121 pump is the ideal pump to utilize. Okay, the only thing you're going to have to do is in this channel, we're now using this channel to now feed. Okay, this is an old switch pitch path. We're now using this channel here to feed the converter, okay, from the valve body. You're going to get this fixture plate here, and you're going to line this up. Okay, and this is what's really nice about this. When you line it up, you're going to bolt it down to the pump. You're going to see in these areas here where the channel is, but it stops. Well, our fixture plate allows you to then follow a guide, and I'll explain that in a second here, and you're going to be able to open this up with a cordless drill, okay? What you're going to get in the kit is this little follow-on guide, okay, collet guide. This collet guide sits inside of this groove channel, okay, and it moves around as you can open up what you need. Now, the 121 pump only needs this small section here opened up. Well, if you have an 895, 896 setup, you need to do the whole thing. And again, there'll be videos explaining that in depth in individual pumps. Everything is going to be broken down for your specific parts and your transmission. When you have this, you're going to be, this comes with a little end mill, a little cobalt end mill, and we have a locking collar that sets the depth, okay? And all you're going to be doing with the cordless drill, again, this is going to be in the video, is going to come in and we're going to open up that channel. If you have, I guess, the unicorn pump here, this is an 068 pump, not as common. They're not used because we have a lot of material here and it gets poor flow to the pump gears. But it comes all the way down to the bathtub that is on this side, on the stator side, which is right here, which feeds your converter. So again, all we're doing is diverting it. Now we have full control of converter feed. We have run these in many cars, many transmissions, and they work fantastic. So you're going to get this in the kit. You're going to get a hardware kit as well to bolt this down. You're going to get the fixture plate, okay? And it literally is extremely easy. You're going to have a line here, an engraved line. There's threaded holes in here. You bolt the valve body to this, and you come on this side and you drill out these holes. They're numbered. It tells you exactly what to do, and then you have to tap them. We do supply the drill bit, but we do not supply the tap, so you have to keep that in mind. If you don't understand the added benefit to this, research it. I definitely recommend researching it. But again, it kind of gives you that ability, if you have a larger turbo with smaller cubic inches, to help get it to spool up. This is very common in a lot of cars. Brett LaSala, his car, he utilizes that, and as well as lockup. But that's definitely used, and there's so many cars out there. This kind of product is in those higher end M&M, Rossler. They're all in those transmissions, but you have to buy the very expensive transmission. So offering it in DIY with some of these OEM components and aftermarket to make it work. And again, you are restricted primarily when it comes to valve bodies, because this does bolt down to the valve body. You have your HCI Wickeds, you have Extreme Automatics, to name a few. Those valve bodies work great because there is enough area here where you can have this solenoid sit flat and bolt down. Excuse me, it utilizes one of the valve body bolts to hold it down, and it actually comes with a longer one in the kit. Everything you need to do this. And I do understand it being a DIY kit, that even being a DIY kit, some people are real hesitant. Again, I think it's brain surgery getting into this transmission. I completely understand. Definitely consult somebody, a friend or a transmission shop, and we have open lines of communication here to be able to answer any of your questions. And we're going to have a very in-depth video playlist of individual steps to do this. I'm still working on that. I want it to be a really good production, so I'm kind of working on that, and that's taking a little bit more of time. But again, the kit is very self-explanatory, and I do have videos out there, and we do have open lines of communication, whether it's email or phone call. but this can be done. And one of the nice parts about this as well is you don't have to have your entire transmission taken apart. Yes, you do have to have the valve body off, and yes, you do have to have your pump off. Other than that, you don't need to. Let's say you have your input shaft hanging out of here, okay, as your pump's off. When this bolts down, it covers everything. So there's very limited amount where you would accidentally get, some chips fall down in there. And they are going to be aluminum chips because you're going to be drilling the pump out right here. The pump face on the case here. And that's done with our number 6 hole right there. Okay. That gives a passageway into the channel here. So it is a very simple kit, and it's kind of critical. Now, I think with the external dumps, again, yes, they do work. There is very little gain on that, but it can work. One of the biggest reasons why I don't like it is they are used way too much. Depending on your setup and what you have and everything else, if you understand, if not, I'll explain. The bottom port that goes to your cooler, so this is converter exhaust running to your cooler. The top port is return. If you don't know, the return doesn't just return to the pan. It actually is utilized to go back through the pump and lubricate everything centerline in your transmission. So you seal centerline, your gear train, everything in the back, it's utilized to lubricate that, okay? Using an external dump, prolonged, can cause damage to your transmission. Anything else really, but it's not something that is ideally used to do that. It is nice to loosen the converter. It does work, top end, short track, but not something I would totally rely on that's going to keep your transmission together, where this is a very specific thing for that specific reason. An external dump is not. My experience running turbo cars, LDR car, part of a team that I'm on now, is that we do, on a turbo car, we do have an external or internal dump here, internal converter control. So once the trans brake is let off, the car launches. Well, this then becomes obsolete because now it's normally open, so it's now filling a converter. Well, the dumps there's 2-stage dumps on the one car we have, and what that does is they turn off at, I think, 1 second at 1.2 or 0.8, 1.2. So it's stages, so that we're controlling traction that way. That's the only ideal way I would see that being used, is kind of controlling your 60-foot. But again, completely different transmission because it's a split circuit. So a lot of stuff. But ideally, even on the basic level, street race from a dig, anything like that, this can still be utilized. And you can still not spend a ton of money on a very expensive transmission to get this, like an M&M or Rossler, and Proformance or Extreme Automatics. So it's just a very simple, I think, in my opinion, inexpensive kit, and we give you everything you need to install it. So definitely check it out. Definitely check back too. Really trying to work hard to get those videos out for helping you install this kit. So if you like this video, please like it, share, drop a comment. Any questions, you can email us. You can put them in the comment section. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. I hope this answers questions and why, the biggest reason why we're utilizing this, and the difference between this and an external dump, and what damage an external could cause from prolonged use. Yes, this is a little bit more money, but in comparison, $600 versus whatever, some of those are $250, $300. It's kind of really that difference in cost. I'd rather go with this, but yes, the difference is it's a lot more involved in installing a new transmission. But if you're going through it right now, getting into the race season, and you have your transmission partner at the trans shop, consider buying this and putting it in. You don't have to use it all the time. If it's not being utilized, it's normally open, so it's working like it's not even there. And again, if you ever want to remove it out of your transmission, you could do so just by tapping and plugging those holes with a set screw. So you're really not permanently altering your valve body. But other than that, everything else can go back the way it was. These kits are reusable. This is reusable as long as you don't damage it or lose it. And then if you come across another transmission you want to modify, you can still take everything off and still utilize everything here. So really cool feature about that. I get a lot of great compliments from those big companies about this plate. Majority of these kits are used in some pretty high-end race cars right now that it's not really that public, you know, how they get. But thanks again for watching. Check back, and we'll hopefully have more of the DIY video out on this kit. Thanks.